Welcome to another episode of Business with Passion. Each show features guests who have transformed their long-term passion into a successful business. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton Roth. My marketing strategy business grew from my love of talking with passionate business owners. In this series, I share their passion with you. So if you're looking for inspiration to enhance your business passion, keep watching.
Bioneers is a natural antidepressant. We started a conference in 1990 that brought together social and scientific innovators with both practical solutions and visionary solutions for restoring the earth and healing our human communities. And a lot of what has been unique is looking to nature as teacher, mentor, guide, rather than as a resource or as stuff, But nature has done everything that we want to do, and it's got 4 billion years of R&D behind it. And if we actually look to nature for solutions, which is why we use the term Bioneer, biological pioneers, it's all been done. And so there's a whole huge body of work that's extremely pragmatic, that's now actually an emerging scientific revolution called biomimicry, the idea of imitating nature, and then applying that also to how we live. And much of that knowledge is contained among indigenous peoples and traditional cultures who have lived, we figured out how to live with each other. It's not just about how what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves, but what we do to each other, we also do to the earth. And so it's a circle that has to be complete. And it's really about solutions. And, we really know pretty much what we have to do. Most of the solutions are present. And even where we don't know exactly what to do, we have a very good idea what directions to head in. So that's what Bioneers is about, and it's an extraordinary kind of a group mind, a community of innovators across all sectors, all issues, pretty much anything you can think of, from transforming our energy system to our food system, how to manage our water, how to bring about social justice, how to open our hearts to be in empathy with the fullness of the natural world and each other. And I think it's become popular because it's a very resonant vision that really can be applied in practical ways, and we've got the next decade to put it all into action.
I think that the Bioneers experience is an amazing experience, and anybody who is given a chance to go to either the national conference or any of the satellite conferences, it's definitely an experience to be had. I am here. This is actually my 5th Bioneers Conference, and I come every year for the inspiration and knowledge sharing for the community and the family that is gained just by being here at the conference. And also something to bring home and share with friends and family. I've actually inspired many of my family members to be more mindful about their choices and the impact it has on the earth.
I have a vision of the world being a place where every single child that is born into it is welcome, we're able to care for that child, and that child knows that they have a place here. And that child can grow up knowing that they're safe, that they're celebrated, that independent of what they look like or what they believe in, that this is a place in which they can thrive. And in order for that to happen, we have to have good leadership. We need to have leadership that says people before profit. We need to have vision before strategy. Relationship before issue or task, community before action. So the importance of developing strong, interconnected circles of leadership, what we call deep community, or in my ethnic history, beloved community, coming from Martin Luther King. That's what we're about. That's what's so important. And I need to be able to look in your eyes or the eyes of other leaders and say, we're kin here, we're connected. It's not about me just having my own agenda, but it's about how does what you want and need connect up with what I want and need, and how can then we and them and us. It's expanding the notion of us and we. I'm interested in not having any other anymore. So it's not like those people, but it's our people. We just don't know them yet. And so networks of kinship, and I think is the essence of leadership, is that we actually, you know who I am. And I say, okay, here. It's the best fun I can imagine. At Rockwood we teach that it's important to not move from a sense of urgency. Because when we're urgent, we're moving in a sense of emergency. So while I don't want us to be urgent, I want us to be on time. And the time is now for leaders to really step out of our comfort zones and take some risks. I think we're running out of time for the kind of navel-gazing, the wondering about how all of the myriad intricacies of who I am. While that might be interesting, actually it's time to move beyond that. And that means that we have to say we may not be ready, or we may not think we're ready, and it's time. So gather up your brother and your sister, grab the nearest hand beside you, put a hand out there and move, because it's time to take some huge risks. What's the worst that could happen? Really, what's the worst that could happen? The world can come to an end? All right. But we'll have done it hand in hand. It'll be a gas. We will have a blast at it. Why not? So let's do it. Get out of your comfort zone. Find somebody you don't know. Snuggle up really close and move. Bioneers is about people who are really working to make a difference on the planet, with each other, in service of the public good. Well, that's what we're interested in supporting. It's almost like you couldn't separate what we're about and what they're about. I came to Bioneers for the first time about maybe 5 years ago, and my first thought was, who are all these strange people who I don't know, and moved from that, who are these people, to, wow, this is an amazing conglomeration of people from all over the world coming together to say, we can do something different. And not only can we inspire each other, which is important, but we are actually doing it. So from purpose and vision to performance, the folks who are coming to Bioneers are the leaders that are doing what we are in business to support.
The impetus for a lot of my systems is that I lived in Gabon, Africa for 4 years. I lived with the Pygmies, I worked with 3 different tribes. I was a Peace Corps volunteer that got me there. And I built schools and clinics and drilled wells and created gardens. And in that process, I've been working on these systems since 1980. I've stumbled across different ways to grow food vertically. In the African sense, because the ground would be loaded with insects, and I wanted to get my squash and watermelons off the ground. So 25 years later, we're still at it, and we've come down to a new system that we can actually grow food vertically in a very thin carpet material, and it's generated and spun off a whole series of new inventions. And the thing that's important is we're mixing all the arts, science, biology, architecture, humanities, and creating a new company that we call our new science, which is called the science of biospherics, how to live in this biosphere without damaging it. The reason we're here at Bioneers is we feel that this group of people, and this is a cutting-edge technologies and forward-thinking people that we would like to interact with and see how our ideas blend into the marketplace of new ideas.
I've gone to several of the beaming Bioneers in other places, Eugene, Oregon a few times, and Anchorage, which is near where I live, and I just feel it's a good dose of feel-goodness, you know, in a world that sometimes seems really depressing and like everything's going downhill. This can make you feel uplifted. There's people in this world that are trying to do things. And it's a nice wide variety of social justice movement, environmental stuff, how to keep healthy. I mean, all kinds of really neat things are going on here. So I really enjoy coming here. It's a special treat for myself.
I'm a medical doctor. I practice and teach integrative medicine. I teach health, wellness, consciousness, changing the world. I'm talking about the future of healthcare and also having fun with my friend Caroline Casey. We're doing an evening together.
The reason I'm here is I work with a foundation that does funding in the area of the environment. And also because Bioneers gives me a lot of inspiration. I just think it's a great place to come if you want to have hope for the world. I've just been able to broaden a lot of things that I read about. I can get the first-hand experience by going to the workshops or listening to the speakers. Sometimes I get introduced to new things and then I can research those more. And so it's been a lot of different things that I've learned here.
And for somebody who deeply engages in the bio part of Bioneers, as a biologist by birth, I want to honor intentional community with all life forms and how we do that not only on our 80 acres, but at a planetary level. As a biologist, I spent enough time trying to figure out endangered species and critters, and it became clear to me that when the water cycle was compromised, the capacity to support life was going to be compromised. And so I've mostly spent a lot of time studying water, not that I've abandoned the snakes and frogs and turtles and lizards and scorpions and such, but trying to figure out that basic cycle of life. And this Water Institute, as you can see, is an acronym there, is one attempt at getting at it, because when you talk water, you get to talk about everything.
I work for Global Exchange, which is an international human rights organization. We work on root causes of injustice. And the work that I do is I'm a community organizer, and I work with communities to assert their rights, to say no to unwanted projects, and to say yes to the kinds of communities they want to be. In Mount Shasta, California, they're facing corporate cloud seeding from PG&E, which is about raining poisonous, toxic chemicals down upon the people in order that PG&E can capture rain and convert it into hydropower. Siskiyou County, which is where Mount Shasta is, has also been assaulted by corporate water bottlers. And they've watched as big corporations have come in and really changed the nature of those communities. Mount Shasta decided they wanted to be in control of their destiny. The law says they can't say no to those unwanted activities, so they're going to change the law. So the work that I do is to get to work with fabulous, amazing people and communities who are willing to challenge corporate constitutional protections and everything that comes with it in order to live in the kinds of places they want. The work I do at Global Exchange is about organizing in Mount Shasta. Their interest is in water. In Santa Cruz, they don't want pesticides rained down upon their head. In Ukiah, they want corporations out of their electoral process. This work is about saying what it is that we as a community want and how do we get there. And when communities find out that it's the law that's standing in their way of getting what they want, they're really kind of scratching their heads, what do we do? So if you're in a community that's actually facing an unwanted activity or project, or merely just want to express the kind of place you want to live in, and you're finding that you can't do that, contact me at Global Exchange, or go to a democracy school, which is a way of a weekend training of learning about exactly what it is that past people's movements for rights have done to overcome the law. So we look at slavery, we look at abolitionists, we look at women's movements, all the movements that actually are about driving rights. And in this case, we're talking about the rights of communities to decide the kinds of places that they want.
Youth program was established about 9 years ago. It actually started here at the Bioneers Conference with Julia Butterfly Hill. She was a main speaker on the main stage. She was invited to speak about youth activism, her role in the youth movement, and she looked around and there weren't any youth in the audience. And she invited all of the youth when she was up on stage to come meet her on the lawn outside so that they could have a conversation and figure out how to get more youth voices in the Bioneers. And so a small gathering happened, and from that, over the next few months, the greening of Bioneers began as a project that the youth could take on and really create and implement a change within the organization. And so throughout the next years, more greening practices were adopted, and then we got some funding and started the Youth Scholarship Program. And that's really where the foundation of the youth program began, to financially support low-income and underserved youth to come and experience the conference, take real solutions that they're learning from the speakers, from the workshops, from engaging with other youth, and bring them back to their schools, their organizations, and draw the connection between the youth to just inspire them. And it's grown over the last 4 or 5 years into what it is today. And we have youth from all over the country, a lot of Bay Area because this is our local San Francisco conference, but they experience the plenaries, they have intergenerational workshops now. So what started as a youth tent that was very kind of separate from the rest of the conference, we reevaluated and realized that we don't actually, we want a place for youth to be safe and to express themselves peer-to-peer, but there's so many amazing projects and youth at this event that their voices need to be heard to the adults, and the adults need to learn from them. And so we started programming intergenerational workshops so the adults could learn from the youth could learn from adults, and it's been super successful. And now their workshops are not just the youth workshops, but they're in the main conference, they're in the VMA. We had our first youth plenary speaker last year, Erica Fernandez, 18 years old, on the main stage. This year we presented Carrie Fulton, young youth climate justice activist, and we have almost 150 youth here and many groups represented. It's great. But the energy, I think, is something that you can't describe. You come here and you immediately feel like something awesome is going to happen. Maybe not at this weekend, but after. A lot of connections are built, and there's a whole ripple effect that happens after experiencing everything that this is. So join us.
At least 3 years ago, there wasn't a lot of teen events. There was a huge, large tent that was really empty with a bunch of chairs. And I felt that the youth need to hear this, like they really need to hear a lot of this, of what's going on at the event. But it's also, you need to intrigue them. You need to remix it to their own needs. So I contacted Liz because I just looked on her website and sent her a proposal of what I wanted to do. And we've been connected ever since. And it's just showing youth, because a lot of people think of recycling cans or bottles, which is obviously great, but you can do other little creative things, like there's reworking t-shirts and reworking clothes. So you can take old clothes that you find at thrift stores, take old shirts that are too big or too small for you, cut them, make them bigger, sew them, re-sew things on them. This year we have screen printing, where you can push paint through these screens onto designs, kind of printing of sorts. And so there's a lot of that. And there's also, the main thing we're doing is called dream flags, where you write what you dream for your future on a square or a piece of material of sorts, just to make the youth thinking and creating at the same time. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the flags into this big quilt for the 350 organization. There's going to be a demonstration in Dolores Park next Saturday. And it's just talking about your future and what you dream. So we're making a bunch of little ones, or people can make a bunch of little ones, put them into 2x2 panels, or just make straight 2x2 panels. So it's really cool and interesting. You can screen print on them, remake. We have Bioneers shirts that you can remake things into. Bring your own shirts. There are shirts here to use. People are making bracelets, wallets, handbags, hats, shirts, purses, fork holders. So you can kind of do whatever. It's just a place it can be really overwhelming with all the adults, and there's a lot of crazy stuff being talked about, which is good, but it can be a lot. So it's a good place to chill, but also be productive and do something environmental.
We are at Bioneers to support the movement, as we have been for many years. We've been educating and training people in how to live more sustainably for almost 12 years now as an organization. We offer a whole range of sustainability courses, both hands-on and classroom, everything from how to install solar to how to keep bees, to how to use permaculture and bio-intensive gardening and biodiesel and electric vehicles. So a lot of this stuff has really been catching on in the last few years, and Bioneers has been doing it for a long time as well. And so it's always really refreshing and exciting to come down here and rejuvenate with everybody and further fuel everything that's going on here and everywhere else. And so we're continuing to offer all of our courses, both at our Hopland location. We have a beautiful 12-acre demonstration site, which used to be a parking lot and is now a beautiful eco-oasis, and we always encourage people to come up there and visit us. But we also do workshops in San Francisco, in Southern California, and we have a really great online program coming out now as well.
I've been coming to the Bioneers for 4 years now, and a friend of mine gave it to me as a Christmas present, because after many years as an educator, I kept saying, I don't want to come to another conference. I've done conferences my whole life. And she said, this is different. And I said, all right, and I was shamed into coming by the gift of the conference. So I came and I was blown away. I love this conference. It is a very different conference. It's very moving and very filled with all kinds of information. And at a time when many of us feel a kind of despair about the fate of the earth, you feel some hope, some encouragement that by some kinds of action you can make a difference.
I teach people how to use herbs in their everyday life, and so a lot of people cook with herbs already, and some people are interested in herbal body care products, and how is it that we can really use herbs on a daily basis to support and nourish ourselves and heal ourselves, prevent illness, and recuperate from things more quickly. You know, my great-grandmother used herbs, my great-great-grandmother really used herbs, and there's a lot of, you know, in the United States we fell in love with pharmaceuticals and kind of overnight just let a lot of that go. And so a lot of what I do is help people revive that art. I'm the author of 105 Ways to Celebrate Menstruation. I focus a lot on women's health care and helping women to really understand their physiology and how to care for it and manage it instead of being sideswiped by it. And so I work a lot with women in helping them to support their menstrual health. Bioneers there's just a lot of focus on our food shed, our watershed, local food, local sustainable living, reducing our carbon footprint. And local sustainable medicine is part of that whole picture. If we're growing our food, we're reducing how far things have to be driven to us. Well, the medicine is also part of the garden. It's right there. I'm really interested in reviving the art of home herbal care, how people interface with the plants in their home and creating a medicine chest that is of them and that they love. And so herbal medicine can be this huge, overwhelming, oh, woo-woo, it's scary. But all you have to do is fall in love with one plant. All you have to do is learn how to make a syrup or a tea and just begin with 1 or 2 or 3 herbs and think about what is it that you want to take care of. Do you want to take better care of your digestion or your sleep? And to not only look at the drug options, but look at what plants are out there and to see it as a relationship. How can I find out what this plant is about and who it is and watch it as it flowers and seeds. And because a lot of what we're doing, it's not just about, I'm going to take this herb to put myself to sleep, but it's about our reconnection and reviving our relationship with the green world. You know, and we've desecrated that relationship and we've poisoned the plants, and so it really is our job to recreate a good, reconnect and revive our covenants with the green world.
Thanks for watching this episode of Business with Passion. If you'd like more information about Bioneers, other episodes, or perhaps to be a guest on a future show, go online to tv.manygoodideas.com.